Hi guys, it's me again. I thought I'd make another one because I just felt lighter after making the last one. I think it just helps so much to talk, and I think that sometimes you can forget that if you're not like in talking therapy or something. They are arranging me some therapy at the moment, so the crisis team is a shambles, and I don't blame them and I don't blame the NHS. I know that they're terribly underfunded and understaffed. So the night that I had the big psychotic break, the massive breakdown when I wasn't really recognising people or talking properly, that night my grandma and granddad came round. My mum called them round because she didn't know what to do, and obviously I'm very close to my grandparents, and they've been a big support for us growing up because of my mum being a single parent, and they've been a big support. Anyway, mum rang the crisis team and they said something like the best they could do. No, wait, sorry, tell a lie. So I'd been ill for a while before the big breakdown. I was getting worse and worse and worse, and it was becoming apparent that I was heading that way. And my mum rang for help, and they said, like, okay, someone's going to ring you back in 72 hours. And it ended up being like 3 days until someone rang us back. And bear in mind, during this time, I am heavily suicidal. Every night is a hellish experience. From my perspective, I was absolutely petrified, and I know it's irrational even talking about it right now. I can talk about it because it's the daytime right now, but it's like this irrational panic and absolute terror that was just making me lose my mind. This was before they put me on the sedatives. The sedatives have really helped, because before that I was in like a state of like paranoia and psychosis, and my days were just blurring together. I was in total fear. I wasn't sure what was real. I was just petrified. Like, I didn't want to speak. I didn't even really want to move. I wouldn't eat. It was really scary. And more of that comes back to me now. I'm on like the sedatives. I think because I'm sleeping more, it's helping me quite a lot, because before I wasn't sleeping. Anyway, so the crisis team eventually rang back, and I had really pinned my hopes on this because I'm trying to cling on to every single day, because I've got this fear in me. I've had this fear in me for a long time because of the BPD. I know that there's a part of my brain where something is, I don't want to say it's wrong, it's not wrong, it's just different. It's wired differently because of, we don't know if it's genetics or because of past experiences or just a mix of it all. But I know there's a part of my brain which makes me vulnerable, and that there's a huge possibility that one day I will be my own murderer. Or this illness will be my murderer. And it sounds kind of weird to put it like that, but I've always kind of felt like if I ever did die by suicide, I almost don't want to think about it as a suicide, because it's the illness. The illness convinces me that dying is the only way, and it's the way to escape the pain. But obviously, because I was like really ill before and I came back from it, I got to a point where I was no longer suicidal like all the time. I still had like the ideation, but it wasn't like a constant thing. I wasn't planning it, and I was able to kind of move through life a bit more. So I guess I'm just afraid because I know what it does to me, and it's like there's that tiny part of me that tries to fight it, but you know, it's just every day as it comes. Sorry, this is like I'm totally rambling. Anyway, so after this, we waited, and finally they called us, and then they said, bear in mind this is a crisis situation. I've had a breakdown in those few days we were waiting. I had the psychotic break. Apparently I didn't recognise my mum, and apparently I was like yelling and screaming, and like mum says I was like huddled up on the floor, like I wasn't recognised her. I was scared. It was like a complete psychotic break, and like I don't remember all of it. But so the crisis team rang eventually, and then they said, right, we can put you in touch with someone within 28 days. And it was like this is the crisis team? Like, I 28 days? A month? And I'm thinking, as I'm getting this information, and I feel this sinking feeling in my stomach, because I'm thinking, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be dead by then. I'm not going to make it. And I'm thinking, I've got to fight, but I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to do it. I can't do that. That was so distressing, and thankfully, so Mum actually took me to the doctors, which was I was out of it anyway. So when I got there, I would not go in the waiting room. The waiting room is empty, but I just would not go in there, and I literally stood outside, and I stood outside this doctor's surgery, and I just, like, watched ants. I know that sounds really stupid, but, like, one of the only grounding things sometimes is, like, nature, and I was, like, standing there, and there was, like, a wall, like a fence next to the doctor's, and there were all these ants on it, and I was just watching the ants. I must have looked completely insane, but I was just, like, focusing on those small things, like, come on, like, focus on something. Finally went in to see the doctor, and at first he was like, oh, I don't really know, like, I don't really want to prescribe you something, and I just, like, I cried. I started crying. I really started crying, like, hysterically crying, and it's really embarrassing, and it shouldn't be embarrassing, and I wouldn't find it embarrassing if someone else did it, but it just felt embarrassing, and I couldn't stop crying, and I was crying, and I was saying, like, please help me, like, I think I'm gonna die, like, and it's so hard expressing that to I had to express that to my mum, because sometimes to get help you have to express yourself, and it's been really difficult to, like, because it hurts people, but sometimes to save yourself from the situation you have to be upfront. And so I spoke to my mum and I said, look, I'm really worried, like, I wasn't even that articulate, like, as I am now, because I wasn't on the sedatives then, but I just tried to get through to her that, like, look, I know I'm not talking very much because I'm finding it hard to talk, I'm finding it hard to be around people, but I am really scared, I am in danger. And my grandma and granddad and my mum looked into, like, residential stuff, and there was nothing, and there were a few days where, like, I'm watching What If at the moment, Marvel What If, and there's definitely a few days where in the parallel universes different versions of me, like, killed themselves in those days. It was awful. Thankfully the doctor gave me these sedative meds, and I was scared to take them, first of all, because I'm emetophobic and I wasn't thinking straight at all. But once I started taking them, I have felt more able to make it to my next appointment. So anyway, we went to see, like, the crisis team appointment eventually. It wasn't 28 days, but it was, like, I think it was 2 weeks we waited, which seemed like a short amount of time, and I know we're so privileged in this country and all that stuff, but when you're in a state of crisis where you're fearing for your life, basically you're thinking, I'm in fear because I think I might murder myself. When you're in that state, that's a long time to wait. So we had to go to, like, we had to drive there, and Granddad took me, Mum took the time off work, Mum took some time off work over those days because I just wasn't, she just stayed at home with me because I was just a danger to myself. I was completely not well. Dad rang me one of those days, and just hearing his voice on the phone just set me off hysterically crying, and I don't know why. It sounds really stupid, but for those days where I was trying to cling on, I had to pretend that I wasn't alive and I wasn't real to get through it. And I know that sounds really weird, but I had to distract myself. Like, I was watching YouTube and I was watching Netflix, and it wasn't really going in, but I had to forget that I was real, because if I remembered that I was real, then I would want to get myself out again. I would want to take myself out. And it sounds really weird to explain it, but like that is what psychosis and all that kind of stuff does to you. Like your thought processes do that weird stuff. So I didn't like talking about how I felt, because the moment I had to talk, it made it real, and then I was scared, I was in danger. Anyway, so I went to this meeting, and like it's like a dark comedy, because went there, I was so nervous, I could barely walk because I wasn't eating. I am not eating still very much. I'm probably eating about 400 calories a day right now. I'm about 6 stone right now. I'm very thin. I think that's the least I've weighed since I was about 13, 14, I think. Anyway, so I couldn't even make full steps because I wasn't eating, and I hadn't been eating. Like, I could not make full steps. And I, like, had to hold on to my mum's arm, which, again, scared me because I was at this point where I didn't want to touch anyone. I didn't want anyone to come near me, but I had to, like... So I got there, got into the meeting, and then my mum has to explain to the woman what's going on, because I can barely talk properly, and I'm trying to, and I get hysterical, I have a panic attack, I get really upset, and I'm crying, and I'm sobbing, and I don't know what I said. And there's supposed to be a doctor there that I was supposed to see, but on that day, that doctor literally broke his leg that day, and was in A&E himself. So they said that they would have to discuss options for me, but that only happened on every other Tuesday, and because the day we went was a Tuesday, it would be in 2 weeks. And the woman I saw she did her best from what I remember, but this system is just... The system is going to be letting people die, if not outright killing people, because Mum stayed off work with me. Mum stayed with me and kept an eye on me. And if I hadn't had that person there to sort of ground me in reality and keep checking, I don't think I would be alive. And what about the people that... I live with my mum because I am not able to... I'm too ill to live by myself, basically. I'm too ill to move out. That's why I study with the Open University. I am too ill to do that. But in some ways, like, at least my granddad is an ex-GP. So my grandma is very, like, she'll get anything done. Like, you need help, grandma will sort something out. And they helped me, and they tried to sort things out, stuff that I couldn't do. And what on earth do people do who have these crisis points when they don't have someone there? Like, what... I assume that's when the tragedy happens. I've had a lot of bad experiences with the system before as well. One of the counsellors I saw... I had to go and see this guy. This was when Mum was experiencing a bad situation at home. Or Mum was experiencing a bad... There was a bad relationship. Mum was in a bad relationship. It was awful. I remember some of the stuff I saw. Police came. Just a lot of stuff I saw at that time and went through at that time was really bad. But the guy they got me to see was inappropriate. I'm sorry, this is going to keep cutting out because it's on the iPad. But I think, like, a lot of us have been, like, gaslit and invalidated such a lot that... I don't know, this is kind of off topic, but I don't trust any of my own memories. I second guess everything, even stuff that I think is so clear in my head that I can see it and smell it and feel it. A lot of stuff has happened that has been denied. to the point that, like, it made me question my own memory and my own sanity, and I still struggle with that today. Like I realised this, like, because I was watching, like, I've been watching, like, true crime and stuff, because I'm interested in, I don't like the, like, the voyeuristicness and, like, when it becomes, like, oh, it's, like, entertainment, but what I'm interested in is I'm interested in the psychology of when these things happen. I'm really interested in, like, finding out what makes these people do these terrible things and what can be done to try and prevent that from happening. That interests me a lot. But so I remember, I think I was watching something, and a lot of people were saying something like, about some sort of interrogation. You know, they asked someone, like, if they were at a certain place at a certain time, and that person said something like they thought they were, like, they were 99% sure, and everyone was like, how can you say you're 99% sure? And it hit me that I couldn't 100% tell you anything in my life. Anything. Because ever since I was young, stuff's happened which has been ignored, or brushed under the carpet, or flat out I've been told it didn't happen. And I feel like deep down I know that it did, because I just feel like you know, like, you have a gut feeling, and it all, like, it makes sense, like, timelines and stuff, everything makes sense, but when you get told that, like, you're the crazy hysterical one and that things weren't that bad, there's this poem called We Remember Your Childhood Well, which I won't read to you, but, like, if you look that up, I'm not sure who wrote that, it might be Carol Ann Duffy, but it kind of feels like that. And after a while you just kind of doubt your own recollections, and it's really damaged me in life generally, because, like, I think I said before, like, I let people mistreat me sometimes because I give them too much benefit of the doubt, and I even, like, cover for them. Like, someone can mistreat me, and it's like I don't want to believe they're mistreating me. Like, I want to believe that it's just me being paranoid and it's just me being crazy. Like, it's my fault. It must be my fault. Like, I must be misinterpreting. And I let people get away with things, and I even, like, make excuses like, oh no, it wasn't your fault. And then when I finally come to the realisation after a long time that, wait, it wasn't my fault, like, this stuff did happen, and then it's that trap that I see a lot. Actually, there's a case that reminds me of this right now, but because you've done that, because you wanted everything to be okay, and, like, you wanted to believe everything was okay, then when you turn around and say things actually weren't as okay as people thought, they think that you're lying because you didn't say it then. But it's not because it didn't happen, it's because at the time you were in denial, or you were protecting someone, or you just didn't want to admit to yourself what things were like, and you wanted to believe the best in people. And sometimes it's easier to, like, live, like, the fantasy of it, and I don't know, it's hard to explain. But in America there's a case that a young woman's gone missing, Gabby Potato, and they found her remains, and I won't get into it, like, hugely here, but it's really upsetting and just, you know, really awful. And there's a traffic stop. The police, I think there was a 911 call from someone who allegedly saw her boyfriend hitting her. They called 911, and then the police stopped the vehicle. And in this traffic stop, obviously we don't know what's happened, I don't want to speculate, but she was very distressed, and she started talking about how there was a fight, but it was her fault because of her OCD, and she gets stressed, and she can be mean, and I recognised a lot in that, you know, maybe it's just projection, we don't know what happened, but to me, watching it just set off these red flags, and I just thought, like, I understood that so much. The way that you can become reliant on somebody, and you love people, and it means that sometimes you don't want to admit the truth, or I don't know, it's hard to explain, but, and then, like, you see this in a lot of cases, and people say, like, but you said this up until this point and then you changed, like, why didn't you say right then? And sometimes you don't realise, or I don't know, it's just, it's weird. But like, I have a real habit of doing this, like, and it's bad for me because I'm bad with boundaries. Like, that's, I struggle because I don't want to believe, like, I idealise people and I want things to be nice so much that sometimes I just let things go and I smooth things over. And obviously what I spoke about in my last video about growing up feeling like I had to be that person to make the peace, like to be that person, has made it very difficult now I'm older, to have those boundaries. But I mean, I don't know why I do it, and it's like one of these things that I do I wish I didn't do. I don't know if any of you guys do it as well, or if it's just me, I don't know. But like, I take the blame sometimes for things where later on I think maybe I shouldn't have, because I just want things to be okay so much. And there are other times when like for example, like all sorts of weird situations, like with that uncle that I was telling you about before, you know, he wrote that awful letter, and I wrote something like for him, hoping to like get some peace. And I know that it's really hurt my grandmother in particular, you know, that he has acted like this, and it's really upsetting for her. Like, it's a horrible situation that's really hurting her and has hurt her, and it's horrible to see that. So I've just thought, you know what, I'm putting aside everything he's done to me and everything he's done to Mum and everything he's done, like, I just want everything to be okay for Grandma, you know, to have her son, because I love her so much. And it doesn't matter to me that he's been awful to me. Like, I feel so angry about the way he's treated Mum and Dan, you know, everyone in my family, but I still want my grandma I just want her to be happy, you know? I just want her to be happy, and I just wish things are nicer for her. I remember it's kind of off topic, I'm sorry I'm going all over the place, but I think like a couple of Christmases ago, Grandma had been going through a lot, and Grandma is she's a generous person, you know, she's a very warm person, she's been such a support. And I remember Dan and I had the idea to do like a Christmas card. Like, she really misses the cousin that she doesn't see very much. They're in contact, but they just don't see each other very much. And we had this idea that like we could do like a Christmas card from the 3 grandkids, and it would just really like be something that she could really treasure, because I know that she feels very, very sad about that relationship between us that doesn't happen. And anyway, there was that was when my uncle like started being really rude to Dan and like mocking him, and it turned into this awful thing, like out of something so, it was horrible. That's off topic, but like my instinct is usually to try and like sort things out and make things better, and like I just forgive too much sometimes. And then when like I was saying, like, anyway, when I was writing to this uncle, I was like, you know, Grandma misses you, and I even put in it, like, I don't know what I put in it. I was like, you know, you were a good uncle when I was young, like, you know, like, it would be nice to repair things, because I'm thinking about Grandma and what it would mean to her, you know. And no matter what my feelings are, like, I want her to have happiness, you know, because nobody knows what's around the corner. And I don't know, she's just done a lot for me that's so good. And anyway, but like, and that wasn't even true, you know. He never was a good uncle to me. He used to ignore me and be unkind, and, you know, and like, I don't know why I said it. And it's the same, like, I don't know if this is such a small scale thing in comparison, but like, do you remember when I did Time Team, and like I had some issues with Ben who was doing Time Team, and like, nothing like that scale, you know, but I just found it to be a bit controlling and overbearing and a little bit, I don't know, I didn't like it. I thought it was a bit unfair. And I remember, like, when things were already starting to go weird and I felt a bit odd about it and the red flags were going up, I remember I wrote this thing about, like, experience with the time team, and it was almost like I wanted it to be a nice experience. So I was like, you know, everyone was so welcoming, and, you know, I was kind of like, I wanted that to be the reality so much. And then when stuff actually went wrong and I, like, confronted Ben, like, he was like, but you, how can things be that bad if you wrote this? And it's like, I don't know why I do that. And in some ways that's my own fault, but I think I guess I know why that happens. I don't know if anyone else who's been in a situation like I have does that. Like, not realising until later and it's too late, and, like, just trying to pretend it didn't happen. And I don't know, but in this Gabby Potato case, it reminded me with the way she was saying, like, oh, you know, it's her fault, she had OCD, and, like, in her videos I could see that she was, if it turns out that he's done something to her, which, you know, we don't know, but if he has, then I understand. Like, I watched her vlog about being in the van with him, and the way she'd edited it to make it look so romantic and happy and lovely, and I do that too in life. Like, I edit, maybe not necessarily in video form, like in words sometimes, in the way I speak, and, like, I romanticize and I edit because sometimes I don't want to face the truth of it, because if I actually face the truth, I'd just despair. Maybe that's why I'm a writer. I don't know. Maybe it's a coping thing, but I recognise that. And I knew as well that later that would be used against her, because, you know, people will say, oh, but in your vlog it looked so lovely, and you said you were so in love, and, you know, you said it was your fault, and that'll all get used, and it's difficult. Anyway, this guy I saw, it made me uncomfortable, and I stopped wanting to see him, and I didn't tell my mum and my grandma why, because I thought it was just me being silly, and you know what, maybe it was. I still don't know. And I stopped seeing him, and then they were like, oh, so you're turning down treatment, and already at that point they were quite resistant of treatment because they thought I was being, like, dramatic and all that kind of thing, and so I didn't see him anymore. And I did have some good experiences in therapy, like, I did some family therapy, which was helpful, but it ended up just being me and Mum doing it in the end. It was supposed to be all of us, but Grandma and Granddad don't really believe in therapy, and, like, Dan, like, didn't really, it didn't really work for him, but Mum and I did it, and it helped our relationship so much after this experience that we'd been through, because, like I said a little bit in the last video, like, Mum was also a victim. Although she was acting in a certain way, it was because she was ill and because she was a victim in this terrible, like, situation. You know, and I forgive that, because I can understand, like, I understand the difference between someone who's malicious and somebody who's ill. I understand that. And what she went through, a lifetime of stuff she's gone through, you know, I love her so much, you know, she's a good person. And we did that, and it really helped us, so the family therapy really helped. Anyway, I'm sorry, I was talking about the crisis team, and anyway, so, I'm actually going to end up seeing somebody privately, which I feel very lucky, because a lot of people wouldn't have that opportunity. And that also upsets me, because I think, what about the people who can't do that? You know, because my appointment that's due for me is not until October, late October. So if I didn't have that coming because my grandma sorted that out and my mum sorted that out, what would I do? It's just so appalling. It's so appalling. And everyone says, like, there's all these mental health campaigns now, and they just say, like, they're all about be kind and reach out and get talking. And it makes me so angry, because that's not the solution. People are reaching out. They are talking. They're reaching out for help. The problem is the help isn't there. There's no money. There's no funding. Like, it's eugenics. People are dying, and it's like, when the government decide where they're putting their money. And I do feel like, they just think these people are useless to us, these people are on benefits, these people aren't contributing, and so let's take it away from them, and it doesn't matter to us if they take their lives or if something happens to them. But I am due to see someone, I think I'm talking to her on Friday. which will be really helpful. She deals specifically in like anxiety, emetophobia, and all that kind of thing. And it's actually given me a bit of hope, because just to know that there's something like is really helpful. And I've also there's a program for emetophobia called Thrive, which I did a long time ago. I got the journal for it. It was in 2014 actually. I found my old book because I was going through it for help, and I'm trying to hopefully start that again so that I can sort myself out, because I guess I want to say here, because I don't know how I will be in the future, and I'm so, when I get bad, I get really bad, and I can't express that to you because I can't even articulate in that state. I guess I want to say that like I don't want to die, or I shouldn't want to die, and like it is the illness that makes that happen, and it's the fear and wanting to be away from the pain of it, like just the terror of it. Like it is a terror in my head. Like I know it's irrational, and it's like a pure terror that goes on in my head, where it feels like, the way to describe it to someone is that, like, imagine that you weren't someone who was suicidal, you didn't want to kill yourself, but you were in such an extreme state of terror that you felt you had to do that to get out. Like, you had to escape, and you were doing that to free yourself. That's the terror. I do have ambitions, and I did write, I've almost completely finished the first draft of a novel that I wrote this summer, but I haven't been able to write anything for it in like 8 weeks. But, you know, it's only got about 2 chapters left and it's finished. And then obviously I need to edit it, and my idea was that I really wanted to get it published. And that's been therapeutic for me in a lot of ways, going through a lot of stuff in my life. The novel's not about me, and it's not about anyone like me, but sometimes some experiences you use and some emotions you use and you channel, and that's been helpful. I don't know, I really, really want to get there and to get my novel published, and because it's something that I can see myself doing with my life. You know, a lot of the time I think I won't be here anymore, but then I think if I could write, then I think I could be. You know, I think writing could be the answer to keeping me here, because the great challenge of my life will be staying alive till the end. That sounds so stupid, but that is the greatest challenge of my life, is getting to a natural death at the end. And once I've done that, I won't be afraid. I will be relieved and proud, and that's what I want. You know, I want to die of a natural cause, to get to where I'm supposed to get. I don't know how old I'll be, you know, no one knows, but I just want to get there. I don't want to take myself out. And it's just that when I'm bad, I feel like that is all I want. And I feel like I have to escape, and that nothing's real, and that's the way out. And I start thinking all these weird things. I start thinking that it's the best thing to do, and signs. I keep thinking there's signs, and like everything that happens like connects, and I start thinking like it's like I'm piecing something together. Like, you know, that's the way out. It's like the Truman Show. It's like WandaVision, really. It is like that. Like they're very, very good depictions of what it's kind of like. I guess you know, if you feel it, like, you know how that feels. But I do not want to die. And even when I was really bad, when I was crying in the doctors, that's what I said. I was crying and I was saying, I don't want to die, and I think I am going to be dead soon, and I don't want to die. And I think the fact that even when I feel hopeless, the fact that I'm looking to that therapy as a lifeline, like that's somebody that's drowning, but that isn't, that's going for the life raft, isn't it? That's how I have to think about it. That's the part of me that's saying, this is the illness, it's not you, and you can get out of it. Like, and it might take a while. I don't know how long it's going to take to get back to where I was, but I have done it before. I have come back from it before. I don't know. In my last emetophobia journal, there's all these questions you had to fill out, and I did this in 2014, and in it, I wrote down a list of my fears, and I was reading it, and it was sad, because so many of those fears I still have, and one of them was, I'm afraid I'll be dead by 30. I'm afraid I'll kill myself by the time I'm 30, but even then it was a fear. Because when I'm well, that's not... I don't know, to be completely honest with you, even when I'm well, it's in the back of my head that to die would be a relief because of the BPD. But it's not something that I actively do, and it is just a thought, and I can still exist, and I can still find, like, joy in things, and I still laugh with Dan and things like that, and I can do that. I know I can endure that. I know I can do it. If I can just get back to that place, I can exist like that. I can do that. I can do that for however long it takes until it is time for me to go. You know what? I just need to get there. I just really need to get there. Okay, I'm sorry. This probably didn't make much sense, but I love you loads, and thank you for your comments, and when I feel a bit better, I'll be able to reply, but it depends how I feel, but hopefully, you know, it might just be that, like, I heart them. I'm sorry I don't have the... I don't know, sometimes, like, reading stuff, like, it does help to know that you're there. Like, I don't know how to express that, like... And I'm sorry for worrying you. I'm really sorry for worrying you. I don't mean to worry you, I just... I had this feeling, like I needed to say this stuff. Like, I just had to get it out there, just in case, you know? Even just if it's, like, a warning to someone else, even if it's just someone else sees it and thinks, like... I don't know. Anyway, I love you loads, and, yeah, see you soon. Okay, love you, bye.